Good afternoon, everyone. This is a very exciting panel we've been looking forward to. We have a great uh, panel here, the three wonderful, diverse film professionals. And we're going to kind of begin to unpack what their journeys have been like and learn from their experiences. And they're going to also share some advice for young filmmakers. So let's get into it. My first question to you, Sindhu. We'll go one after another. Just tell us where it all began. How did you begin your journey, and how did you find kind of the role that you have now in films, which is also very hyphenated and so many different hats you wear at the same time. Just take us through briefly, what it's been like, and how did you come to where you're at now?
So I basically started out as a theater actor. So that's where it all began. I used to do it when I was studying. I was studying in college and I used to do theater in the evenings. And I did commerce and I've studied company law, but just didn't click for me. Like, I have those degrees, but I never put them to use. And I was cast for this film, like, out of nowhere. I was just cast for a film, Brahman Naman, because I was active in theater. And that was a turning point. That's it. Like, once you've been on a set, you can never, like, not go back to it. It's so wonderful, and it's such an adrenaline rush to be on a set that I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue, and that's it. I just didn't know how for the longest time. I used to just be an actor, and I think when I was doing theater, I had thought that okay, one day I'll direct a play when I'm maybe 40 or 50. That's what I had thought for myself, because I thought you need to be older and wiser to direct, and I thought maybe I'm not prepared for it, and that too a play, not even a film. So it was when I was in Bombay that I was exposed to all these, everyone was so multidisciplinary in Bombay. Like, nobody is just one thing. Nobody is just like an actor, or nobody is just a writer. They're also like either directors, showrunners, or they're into editing or sound, something. They just know multiple sort of like areas of expertise. And I found that very fascinating. My friends also like pushed me like, hey, like, while you're waiting to get your acting gigs, why don't you just like learn how to write? And that's just it. I just took up writing, and the first screenplay that came out of that workshop was Achar and Co. And next thing you know, agents had spotted that piece of work. They wanted to represent me and get it made, and that's it.
Fantastic. That's amazing. I'm sure it's something that will give a lot of people hope that this is also possible,
Yeah.
But tell me about, like, what was this workshop that you did, and, how did a screenplay so polished kind of come out of this? How long did it take for you?
So there was this team called AIB. All these comedians, like, there were some friends of mine who were working with them, and they had put out this fellowship for writers. There were two kinds of fellowships. One was the year-long process, and there was one the weekend one. So just as an introductory thing, because I still didn't want to leave acting behind, I said I'll just do the weekend workshop. And it was headed by Mr. Satyanshu Singh, who most recently directed Black Warrant on Netflix, and has done Chintu Ka Birthday and has written poems for Udan. A wonderful teacher, absolutely wonderful teacher, because I knew nothing about story writing before this. And I didn't know how to convert a story into screenplay at all. So I was an absolute novice at it. Like, I just went into his workshop, and he taught us through like examples of films and stories and screenplays. So it was very practical. And I think that really helped, like, sort of get a faster understanding of the craft, So we did that over multiple weekends, and that's it. We had a task. We had to write something post that. And Achar and Co. just happened to be that. And I had a friend who is my co-writer on the film, Kanan. He was free. I was free. We're like, let's just put this time to use and write something. And that's it. It was just supposed to be a writing assignment.
Wow. And did it help being in Bombay? Do you think if you were in some other city, it would have been a different curve, or, in terms of
Absolutely. I think that at that point, in 2016 at least, when I first took this workshop, I don't think that exposure was present here in Bangalore in terms of like screenwriting, courses, filmmaking, in terms of, targeted specific courses which are like not too long and just enough for like professionals to just get started. I don't think that was there. And that is the reason I also moved to Bombay, because the opportunities were far more. You would be testing for projects that were in English, in Hindi, in multiple different languages, but in Bombay. So that was very fascinating for me because it opened up a whole new world. And it was, I think, an eye-opening experience. And I'm an accidental director. I was never intended to.
That was going to be my next question. You know, the transition from being a writer, from an actor to a writer, and then to a director. What was that?
You know, it was just this. I had written this script, and then I was so particular about how it was going to be executed. That's it. It's nothing else. I think I was just obsessed with the fact that I didn't want somebody to ruin it by adding an item song or like, you know, objectifying like my characters or something like that. Because again, it was Suma who was leading. It's a woman, and I didn't want that perspective to change. So I was just extremely particular, and it got to a point where they're like, why don't you just direct it? And I was
Wow.
like, yeah, okay.
I mean, I was going to ask that it's a lot of faith that someone puts in you, a producer, let's say, puts in you as a director, and if you've never done this before, so how did that, was it the time they spent with you, how did they end up putting that faith in you?
So it was actually my agents first. They were just scouting for stories that were not set in, let's say, any of the top half of the country. They were specifically looking for Southern Indian projects, newer voices, newer perspectives, and because I think at around that time, 2017, 2018, 2019, I think there was just like this overload of like violent, gore sort of series and films, and they wanted to see if there was something different that someone else has written, and that's when they were looking for South Indian projects. And it happened so that a friend of mine used to work in the agency, and they read what we had written, and they were really interested. And they were like, who's going to direct this? I was like, I don't know. You can ask whoever you want to direct this. I'm okay to just give you the script. But that was the issue, that then I had like slight, I think, I don't know, I was definitely protective about the material. And they were like, okay, then why don't you direct it? And I was like, but I have never directed before. Like, how am I going to do this? So they were like, make a sample. So go back, take two to three scenes from the film and create a sample, and then we'll see how it goes. If it's good, you can do it. I mean, we'll pitch it to the producers that you're new, but it's worth it. It's worth the risk. If it doesn't go well, then yeah, we'll shop it around, right? And I think that was good enough for me, that I could try something, and if it fails, it fails. It's okay. And if I do happen to be good at it, then it opens up something absolutely new for me. And when I did the sample, I self-funded it. We shot 2 scenes from the movie over 2 days, and they saw it, they loved it, and then the pandemic hit. So then it just so happened that the only producer who was producing at that time, despite the pandemic, was PRK Productions, Mr. Puneet Rajkumar. And he saw the sample, and he was like, okay, this is very fresh, this is very new for Kannada, we should really make this. And I don't think they doubted my skill after they saw the sample. They were like, okay, there is proof here. There's proof in the pudding. You saw the sample, you can see the visuals of how the film is going to look. And I had acted in the sample as well. So I told them I'm going to be acting as well. That's not going to go away. And they were like, yeah, if you've done this, I guess you can manage the set as well. So yeah, we'll leave that to you. So yeah, it was just, I think, showing solid proof that it is possible, even for myself, honestly, not just them. So that I know that I could do it.
That's a great, very, very hopeful story. I'm sure a lot of us will feel like, okay, it is possible to find a supportive environment that early on where, people want you to succeed. They're kind of pushing you to succeed. That's
feel like this is a very privileged, probably, experience among every other story that I've heard. So I just happen to be that one example, but it's possible as long as there's some proof to what you're doing and people can see it. I'm sure that people won't hold back.
Yeah, fantastic. Shilpika, let's begin. Your journey is very, very different. Let's start from where it all began. Tell us briefly about your background in performing arts and everything else that you do, and how did you kind of enter the world of films?
Um, I'll try. I'm from Assam, and my journey started off with dance. So when I was 3 years old, my parents put me into dancing. So I was walking and dancing at the same time, and it started off with Indian classical form Manipuri. And then, the exploration of dance with folk and the classical form intersected at times in Assam. But I think I wasn't really sure of what to pursue. And academically, I went to the same college as you did, where I studied literature in Lady Shri Ram College. And around this time, I shifted to my study to Bharatanatyam. And I was part of a professional company with my guru, my teacher. And but I think that's the time that I really started questioning the study of movement, and I wanted more exploration. I was not. I felt limited by just the classical languages that I was moving in. So I went into martial arts. I went into a few Southern forms and Chinese, Korean, Brazilian. So a mixed martial art kind study of movement. And around this time, I started exploring with my body, and I started creating choreographic original compositions, short pieces that I showcased to audiences, sometimes in very, very experimental spaces of the living room of my house, where I would call in a bunch of people. And then a slightly longer version of my work got staged in Delhi. And some people from the director of that time of National School of Drama actually was there. And we spoke a lot, and after that, I got invited as a teacher. And she felt that what I was doing was actually very theatrical. It was not just dance, but it had elements of physical theater. And somehow, I was very unsure. I'm like, what am I going to teach in NSD? And she's like, you teach what you're doing. And that would help the actor do theater movement. So I started teaching as well, and it intersected with theater. I started experimenting with voice and text and sound in my compositions. And so this journey with performing arts continued, and I was living in Delhi, and around that time, I think I saw I was very inspired by some friends who were very actively politically working in the Northeast against infrastructural development and hydroelectric power projects on the rivers. And I thought of this one idea that would take me back to Assam. And this was this larger work called Katha Yatra, which was about stories and journeys, about identity with the river Brahmaputra. And I started working on this stage for this one performance piece. And then that was a land relationship project that had it lasted about 11 years. I founded a NGO. It had a residency segment. It had archival projects, various threads beyond performing arts. And in the around this time, I was experimenting a lot with the camera. And initially, I was using it as a choreographic tool. I would, my stage research was about an island in Assam. And that became a full-length performance piece that premiered in 2014, and it went to many places. But the starting point was me meeting the landscape, and I wanted a cinematographer to film me. And I thought I will go back later to the studio, I will watch what I was doing, and it would give me choreographic inputs. And but the work with the camera and with my cinematographer was so inspiring, so motivating, and it became a journey by itself. And around this time, so out of that shoot, I created a short film. And but I really did not identify as a filmmaker at that time. It actually took me many, many years. I felt like an imposter. I could never own myself as a filmmaker. I was always identified myself as a performing artist, as a dancer, as a movement artist. So that particular cinematic representation is what I called it, the film. I uploaded it on YouTube, and it stayed for many years on YouTube. And around the time of pandemic is when I started exploring a lot with other projects, with film, video, and somehow I got funded for my debut short film. And when I made that in 2023 is when I actually owned my identity as a filmmaker. So in short, I really tried to, and I'm sure I have missed out lots, but this will give you some sense of the journey.
Thank you. Again, a very, very hopeful story where your first film gets funded somehow. Tell us more about that. How did that happen?
That was an absolute miracle. I still can't believe it, actually. So I put my that cinematic experiment on YouTube, and I didn't even tell my friends that I made a film. So it just lived on YouTube on its own. I knew it. So, and I think around 2020, I knew of a larger work that I wanted to be films, a series of films. And I was talking to a few friends about it. And suddenly, beginning 21, I get a mail from someone in Germany. And he writes to me saying that he saw my film on YouTube and he absolutely loved it. And he was doing a project where he was commissioning movers and dancers and movement artists across the globe to make short films around climate, around dance. And this was bang on with what I was working on. So it came out of nowhere, and it was literally 3 conversations. He said, I don't want to be called a producer. Just say supported by. You produce it, it's your work. And I was the producer, I was the director, I was also the performer. And complete freedom and just do what you want to do. And he had done that to artists, and he picked me from India out of nowhere. So this was literally a miracle. That's how it got funded. And actually getting that fund was the support that I needed to, to actually take that step to become the filmmaker. And immediately I could, I knew the kind of people I wanted to work with, but I could finalize my team. And of course, we all know how having the right team is the bigger wealth than the money. So, but it fell in place, and then it emerged. But that's how it got funded, out of nowhere.
Fantastic. Okay, Chaitra. Now, as you may have noticed, all of us are kind of wearing multiple hats. I'm also a director, producer, editor very often of my own films. And, like we heard from Shilpika and Sindhu, that you end up doing a lot of, especially when you're working in the independent space, you end up doing a lot, wearing a lot of the different hats at one time. But Chaitra, we want to know from you, where you have actually a niche and you have a very specific role in films. When you're on set, how did your journey begin? How did you find this niche?
Hello everyone. To be frank, my whole family are nowhere is near to the film industry, and everyone are doctor, engineer. Everyone says like you have to be second BSc engineering and then CET writing, get the good ranking. So my journey also started with the same way, but this animation made me interested, and lucky that my family is so supportive. They helped me to get into the animation other than the regular engineering and this job. But when I was doing the animation, it didn't had a proper degree as of like at that time. So I was supposed to do a BSc, what everyone told me. So I picked up visual communication for that, and there is a production designing like a chapter or maybe which drew me interest. And after that, I was trying the Sanjay Leela Bansalika movie, which is Savariya, which pulled me towards it, like where I started to do research by my end, saying that what is this production designing, what is our department, everything because I didn't had any clue about the filmmaking or the process of it. So luckily I got in touch with one of the common friend who worked in the film industry, not in the film advertisement maybe. So I worked as an intern with him for the art department where I was no clue. It was like an alien world for me. Everyone's running around, one person makeup, running around. I don't know who is who, which department, whom to talk, which like hierarchy, nothing. With the designation, I can't even understand what is the hierarchy within that. So after that, I figured like going back and learning the whole film thing was not that luxury for me because I'm from the middle class and everything. So I tried to get into the industry with a practical experience and get to know department wise role everything. Luckily, I got work in Kasturi channel, which was there before. So where I worked in a direction team for a year, which I learned the process of the filmmaking and everything. And then I knew what is my department, which is art direction and production designing. After that, I specifically did that. And there was, to be frank, when I was doing this production designing, because in that early 20s, everyone will be looking at like what you have to do, where you have to go, this is my direction, this is my, it's very confusing for the people because some department you feel beautiful, like one, some career you feel very interesting, but you don't know where to go or how to go about it. And you end up in doing multiple hats, like this, I can do this, I can, because I was doing interior designing, drawings also, I was doing 3D modeling, I was doing lot of small jobs which can earn freelancing thing. There was one cab driver in one of the ad which I did internship. He said, "Madam, you can." He asked, "What do you do?" I proudly said, "Like I do this, I do that, I do that." He turned to me like it was in a signal and we were stopped the car. And he turned to me and said, "Very appreciative, madam. But in Bangalore, you have to be one thing to go climb the step. You can't climb all the step together." That is what he told me. And that's the point when it hit me, said, okay, I have to be excel in one department, which I have to find my niche towards it. And that was art department. That's my journey begins.
Fantastic. Thank you, cab driver. Okay, Chaitra, I want to know more about your process. We'll go all around, but we'll start with you. For everyone, a lot of times, you know, we have so many cinema buffs in our country, and cinema is so huge, but a lot of people don't understand what goes behind the screen. You know, what is the process? What do you, from an idea to the culmination of when people actually see it on screen, what happens behind the screen? And I know we all have different roles here, so we'll go one by one, starting with you. When a project comes to you, what is the process from idea to completion?
When a project come to us, it's about the script. Like the script, when we read, it may be a summary or maybe a one-liner. Just we understand what's the whole story about, like what we have to showcase to the people. What is the storytelling way of it? And then we take a brief from the director. What is the director a vision towards it? How cinematic or how artistic, how colorful or how emotional. Like there are different way you touch the film. It can be artistically, it can be with the performance, or it can be with the visual colors you see, or it can be with a lot of camera movements. Like if you see the newer movies of action and all, it's all a fast cut. So it's all different way. So you understand by what the direction vision and you understand what your point, like a department or a production designing, how the whole movie has to be for them. And then you start up to pull out some references and try to understand director vision, make a basic mood board, and then we pick up and we have another discussion with the director to understand our both are there in the same page, and we put our inputs, and if they like the inputs, or after that inputs there's other idea or brainstorming which happens and we come up with a new design. And we definitely take up pre-production time. So in that pre-production time, we work with the colors, we work with the actors, we understand what the character is. Like, for example, if there is a scene in the room, it's maybe the bedroom, and you can't just do one layer of dressing, like for the character of accountant or anything. So, for example, you have dressed up the wall, you dressed up the bed, you dressed up the thing, and there is a proper emotional scene or anything is there. So you go detailing in that where you dress up the drawer. It's not seen in the camera, but it makes the actors to use the space, to live in the space on that time and use the properties or use the detailing to come out new body language maybe, or the emotion maybe over the time. So those detailing we work prior to understand where the production value has to go. Like the whole movie is 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, where you have to put more money on the production designing, where you have to put more money on the camera or technical like equipments maybe. So like that we break down the movie and understand where the money has to go and prioritize that notation and work. And once the docket and mood board and everyone are in the same page, then our journey of execution start, where you interact with lot of labor people, very sometimes greedy vendor or irritated vendor, get to things done. And yeah, so that's a beautiful part of a journey where you do the execution part. Okay, I missed one more. So there is a budgeting session which is always we had to do, but yeah, it's a very crucial part. And then we go on the after budgeting approval, then we go on the execution. And then once the film starts shooting, we make sure each and every point is set for the script, set for the director preference, and set for cameraman preference, like DOP preference, with the lighting, the practical what you add, the mood color what you get to the scene, depending on the emotion of the scene. So that's how our journey starts and ends also.
How long, on an average, are you involved with the project? Like, let's say a feature length film.
See, in the feature films, it also depends upon the which era or how detailing you need for the production designing. For example, if I tell you the example of the Marvel, what I did, I worked for 2 episodes of that Marvel series where it was in the pandemic time where we created 1947 India in Bangkok, and we created 2022 Pakistan in Bangkok. So when we do the period film, you will end up in doing a lot of research. So where you have to be precise and right to the point. So like for a minute example, if I have to say, for example, in 1940s or 1950s, when you're doing the cycle, what we use is regular. It's a milkman cycle or a watchman cycle. At that time, it is a luxury. It's like a pulsar bike for that period of time. So you can't just randomly put cycle next to the security thing or something like that. So those kind of a small detailed research we have to do. It depends upon the film script also. If the script is more of a present, we don't have much of a research doing, but maybe a month of research, or maybe if it is more of a period or thing, you do more research. So researching is crucial for us to execute. So that will take almost 2 months or something. Execution depends upon the scale of the movie. If it is quite big, like depends upon the production value as well as the scale of the movie. Yeah.
Do you enjoy creating period sets?
Yeah, I love creating period sets. It's like, see, the thing is, you don't have much of a reference to it. You always try to pull out. You get 1 or 2 references for it, and then you use your brain saying that okay, maybe that time of people, this is the important. You come up with each and every backstory for each and every prop. You keep it in your set. So that is very interesting.
Thank you. Shilpika, tell us about your process. I know it must be very different. I'm very curious to know from an idea to the finished film, how does it happen?
Actually, in my filmography so far, I have done a few experiments before I made my debut. And I'm only 2 film old at the moment, and both are short films. And the second film was actually my own learning into editing, my own entry into editing. And I did cinematography, I was editor, I was performer, I was director, I was producer, I did everything. So I was very intrigued with the idea of being a one-woman army. Is it possible to, sort of approach film from that perspective as well, when we are not so dependent on so many other things falling in place? So Sakyad was an experiment with that. But coming to your answer, and now I'm in the process of, pre-production phase of my feature-length work. I think for me, even when I was making stage work, my storytelling as a physical theater artist, as a movement artist also, I work in a very improvised way. It's devised performances that I like to do. and I don't have a pre-written script. So even in my films, I don't have a script, I have a synopsis. And right now I'm speaking to a few friends of mine who as likely producers, and they're like, we have to have a script. I'm like, I don't want to have a script. You know, we have a synopsis and we don't need a script. We can go ahead without a script. So, so I think for me, it's really about really strongly knowing the idea as a starting point, and a lot of research into the language that the film will have in terms of the body, in terms of the color, in terms of the feeling that it's going to bring across light and all of those things. So that's the research that I put my head into, and a lot of those things, and also going on shoot is it's really an adventure for every film, I'm sure. But for me, it's literally also going on location without having a choreographed movement. It's not having a dance sequence that I go to a forest and I replicate. But it's being in that environment, immersing in that environment, and having a relationship in that particular space to have something downloaded and emerged at that particular moment. So it's a process of really of emergence and really being present. And the script, for me, gets created much later. Of course, as during shooting also it's getting created, but the final choreography is on the editing table, and the final script is on the editing table. And the first film went into fiction film festivals, as well as non-fiction film festivals, as well as dance film festivals. So I think I mean, if I have to summarize it, it's really interesting for me as an artist, as an artistic research, to not have a position. You know, I'm very interested in breaking a position, in in what is it if we don't take a position? How do you embody something, and really be in that research of becoming something, as opposed to being a product that I have to sell, that I have to, So I like to see the film as not a product and as not something that I'm going to sell, but an artistic research and a journey and an immersion. So devising is very important to me.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Sindhu, I know you're kind of making much bigger scale. You need people. You can't do this on your own. You have to kind of pull people together when you're kind of starting something. So tell us, from idea to when it's developed enough that you start looking for collaborators or support, and what does that look like?
So it starts with the story, and the story is something I usually develop on my own. And then I usually get collaborators for the screenplay. The story is what takes a really long time. There's literally no timeline I can put to it, because sometimes it's something I thought about 5 years ago, and then now I'm writing, putting pen to paper. Or it's something that I thought of yesterday and I'm like, okay, I'll work on it now. So there's really no timeline of how long it's been marinating in my head. But generally it takes a couple of months to get a full story synopsis, and working through the entire structure. And yeah, just having something to read, and something that feels, like she said, something that you could present, because people are always asking for something more structured. So it takes a couple of months to easily do that. And then once the story is really something, it's airtight and it's something that's well put together, is when I finally go into a screenplay. So when the story has been worked on enough, the screenplay becomes easier. And that's when I have collaborators for the screenplay. And then it's up to God's will. Because I don't know when we're going to find producers and when things are going to come together, because it's beyond you. It's beyond me. Like Achar, for example, I can take the example of this one film, right? So I started writing in 2017 with Kanan. And then my agents spotted it in 2019. And 2019 end is when I made the sample. 2020 it was ready. We had a finished sample which was edited, color graded, everything. So it took us a couple of months to do that. And all of it was like a learning experience for me because I had no clue, like just Chaitra said, I had no clue about how edit works or color grading, DI, none of it. So every time I would sit with each department, it was like film school for me. I would sit with them and I would try to understand, why are you doing this? And what will happen if you do this or that? And like all the technicians I worked with, they were extremely gracious. They would teach me while we were working on the project, which is, like she said, practical experience. You're learning something as you're executing it. So it's like you're assimilating information so fast. And you get a better grip of, the craft itself that way. That's just my personal belief. And then all these people were really, really helpful. So, and then, of course, I mean, there are some things that are out of our hands, like the pandemic, etc., and everything. But it generally takes easily, again, anywhere between months to years for you to find producers. There is a film that I'm doing now, which I actually sold 2 years ago, but I'm getting to make it now. It also, because there's so much time that goes from when you sell it to a producer to when it can actually go to shoot. So the timelines of everything is just, it's beyond you. It's something that you cannot dictate at all. And the more you try to control it, the worse it's going to get. So what I do is in between those periods, like in the periods of waiting, that's when I write something else. Or I go and act in somebody else's movie. Or, I do something else. I collaborate with another person for another piece of, like, either performance or a story or anything. So that is why, like, I kind of divide my time between disciplines, which is writing, acting, directing, because I know that if I just focus on one of them, it's going to probably take me a really, really long time to see the fruit of it, So I kind of want to grow as well in the meantime. I want to be able to learn from other people. Like, I like to go to other people's sets where I'm just an actor and I see how they're directing, I see how their art team is performing, or I see how their direction team is running, or the cinematography is playing out. I would love to just like even observe and learn. So that is the reason why I still continue to act in other people's projects, because I feel like it keeps my muscles running and active, and I'm also learning at the same time. So there is no idle time in that sense of, I like to put it to use. So I really enjoy it. So there's no real timeline to things, and it just happens to fall into place by itself. But yes, once you do know that, okay, we're going into shoot, you generally typically, again, like she said, depending on the scale of the project, the scale of my projects have been quite small. We usually have 1 to 2 months of pre-production, and then we have max 2 months of like shooting, like anywhere between 30 to 45 days. We shoot, we finish, and then we have 6 months of post, and hopefully it will have a release as well.
Tell us about the importance of community. I know you mentioned that, being in Bombay sort of exposed you to all these opportunities, opened all these doors, or, sort of you have these people around you who are trying to do the same thing. Of course, being in a city like that helps, but just tell us more about like the importance of community and how, people around you help shape your career path, or like, how do they contribute or support? And also in terms of, networking, finding creative collaborators, how important is this?
I'm actually an introvert, so I don't really network. I just sort of have friends who happen to be very generous in terms of their time and interest in what I do, honestly. Because nothing was deliberate. It was not like, oh, I know Chaitra, she does this, so let me go be friends with her. It wasn't like that. It was just that we happened to be friends. Like, I happened to be friends with people who happened to work at an agency that was looking for like writers, and I happen to be connected. So it's all beyond my control, really. But what I really enjoyed was that I was surrounded by artists, performance artists, writers, filmmakers, artists of various kinds. And that keeps you going, because like you said, it's nice to hear a hopeful story. It helps fuel you to keep going. that's what it was for me in Bombay. In Bombay, it was more about like all of these people trying their hand at something that seems um, much bigger, and like there's so much more happening to it, and it's such a large world. Like so many thousands of people come to test, audition, and there's so many filmmakers trying to get their films out. There's so much happening there, and the only thing that you can rely on is like each other's company and the motivation that each other can, provide, and sort of if somebody could inspire you and things like that. So the community of like that community was very important. That people could understand what you're going through, the struggle, the wait, the most painful parts are the in-between phases, like when you're waiting for your big break or small break or whatever, just a break for yourself, not for like something that's quantifiable, but just for you to know that I'm onto something, right? So to even get to that place is a lot of weight, and having a group of people who could understand that journey and really empathize with you. Because like Chaitra said, I come from a family of bankers and engineers. Nobody, just nobody would understand why we're doing this, despite the pain and the struggle and everything. So it's really important to have a community of people who understand it. And that was very, very helpful. And of course, a lot of resources. Like I said, I was somebody who would take up any course, like I would attend anything, because I knew that I would rather give it a shot. I'd rather give this writing a shot. Let me go there and find out what happens, I would allow myself to fail. I think that was the biggest thing. I would allow myself to fail. If I'm bad at something, it's fine. At least I tried. So even when my film released, was about to release, and it was a couple of days before, like I had to tell myself, hey, if this doesn't work, if it doesn't do well, it's okay. Like, it's fine. It's fine that you were not good at it or people didn't resonate with it. And but it was an experience for you, and that's what matters. So I look at everything as a learning experience, and I just go for it. And then later I try to figure if it's something that can, help me move forward in the direction that I want. So the writing workshop led me to writing. And my friends happened to also like introduce me to people who were, and that community, by the way, are the people that I again like reached out to when I was making my sample. I was like, hey, do you guys want to do this with me? And they were like, yes, of course, because for all of them it was like this is a win for all of us, right? So they all came in different departments. Actor friends of mine from theater, friends who were filmmakers came onto my direction team, and I still collaborate with them to date, even on my second film. So it's like that community has led to collaborators. So yeah.
Fantastic. I also was supposed to share some of my own story here, so I'll get to that in terms of community, because I feel like I also took a long time to kind of find the community. I was working in isolation for a long time, also because I studied outside India. So when I came back, a lot of my peers had moved on and moved to Bombay, and I was based in Delhi. So it's only a few years ago that when I started traveling with my films to festivals, is when I started kind of finding people, and it is such an instant connection, because like you said, you immediately understand the struggles that we go through. It's such a common experience, and there's the kind of relatability is so different from like other people in your life. So, and it's really helped in terms of like, it opens so much more, you get to know about opportunities, you get to know about, and it is like that, a lot of it is helping each other, because a win for one is a win for all, And I think that, and there's more and more communities that are starting, more collectives that are starting, and we'll talk more about that later, but I just wanted to kind of add that for me, that's been the biggest kind of wealth that I have gathered in these last years, having peers who are kind of on the same journey. So, Shilpika, now onto a different perspective where you're kind of, I'm sure you're also, working with people, but the idea that, as an artist and as, someone who's creating cinema alone, like what is that experience like? And do you feel the need for co-conspirators or, having people around you who see your vision and understand, your struggles?
Actually, before I made my debut, for the last 10, 11 years, I was working with many communities in Assam. There are learning centers as part of my foundation. So we work with performing and visual arts for various purposes. There's also a festival that I curate of integrated arts. However, when my first film happened, I managed to get together a fantastic team. My mostly women actually. My cinematographer from Delhi, editor from Delhi. My the sound designer was a guy, and we made a great team. And all of us were kind of first timers. So we just went ahead and made the film. I didn't know how, once you make the film, what do you do with it? The previous experience was YouTube. So, so actually, I sent it to a successful producer friend, acquaintance in Assam, and he saw the film. And he said, this is very good. You send it to IDFA, you send it to IDS, FFK. He sent me a few festivals that were calling and open at that time. And I actually took his advice and I sent it. But I was so new and so outside the world of the film festival circuit, I didn't even know about world premiere, international premiere, Asia premiere, Kerala premiere. I had no idea. And my film actually premiered in Kerala in IDSFFK. And I missed out premiering in IDFA. They had selected it. And I wrote to them saying that I'm already premiering here. And actually, once I went to Kerala, to IDSFFK, that was the first film festival of my life, where my own film was premiering. And there I met so many people, and I learned so much. So, it was just, and people were so, the sense of community was so strong in the fraternity, as I felt also. There was the call for IFI, ongoing at that time, Indian Panorama, and I had no idea that, and someone actually told me that, have you applied to IFI? The last date is day after tomorrow. So I'm sitting in Kerala in Trivandrum and day after tomorrow. And all of us got together and we made our application and we got selected also that year in 23. And all the suggestions of film festivals have come from the fraternity. And my whole journey with festivals and with getting to know people has been through, it's very new. And I'm still learning but it's just that the process of research is such a alone journey. There, I don't think, end of the day, the individual vision, the individual journey is alone. Even though the team has made together and you are here today showcasing the film and you carry it forward. And there's so many ways. And I think I'm in that phase, like after I went through the few festivals and now I'm again gone back into my island within myself where I'm kind of researching and creating my vision, finalizing my vision, talking to a few limited people. But I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the need to talk to more people now. And even coming here is just so refreshing, and it's really grateful that forums like this exist for us to get together. And even, the previous time that I came to Bangalore Film Festival that they had done, it was so well done, and you met people, you had conversations, and I think, yes, artistically, I might choose to go solo on a project, but the community is really, really important. And sometimes, it's people, the community stand for you, not just with money, but with so many other kind of, like you said, the wealth. And even now, like, suddenly there was this one reason that I had to make a portfolio. And it's a friend who's working, doing that. And I think it's really a fabric. And I really want to work on that more. I really want to work. I mean, we spoke a little bit, and then I kind of disappeared. So I have this ability to disappear. I want to be more visible and have more conversations and be more in touch. But I think I have this tendency to just isolate myself.
Well, as long as the community is there waiting for you whenever you're ready. Great. Chaitra, again, very, very interesting kind of different perspective from you about community. I was looking at her, she has a one-line bio, and I was telling her, do you have a bigger bio? Can I read a bigger bio? And she said, just go to my IMDb page. And I thought that's fantastic. I was telling her, I wish I could say that, like she doesn't need to sell herself, so to say in her bio. She just has this one single line. So I want, and she was like, it's, the work she gets is through word of mouth, through, the work, one thing leads to another. So again, like the role of community, the role of your peers, your colleagues, what is that support like, and how important has it been for your journey?
Uh, the community is really important to the world of work what we are doing right now. So the thing is, it helps you, like in my point of view and my career wise or my department wise, if I have to tell. So you won't be misused misused in the sense when it's not maybe the other word, maybe I'm not getting the right word. The thing is, when all the production designers or when the art director are in one community, we all know what are the charges we charge or how the other production houses to treat you, and it's a safer circle. It feels comfortable to work, and we share each other's work, we share each other's experience, and nothing goes wrong. And if there is some problem productions is creating, or a labor issues maybe, or a payment issues maybe, so people come support you and make the problem solve. Or it's also about the ranting about, like, you steam out all your problems of one production house to other, so everyone are aware of it. So misuse of talent won't happen, like technical talents won't happen. That is definitely needed in, like, for the community. We need, definitely needed. And it's a mental support also. It's not just like our, my field of work is majorly a group work. It's not, I can't be a one person army at all. I can't lift a furniture, I can't nail the door. I need my carpenter, I need my painter, I need my whole team. So for me to have that team to take it forward, I'm responsible for 10 people, and the production house is responsible for another 30-40 people. So that responsibility shouldn't be taken that lightweight. And you can't treat any other department or any, for that matter, any team member for that matter, shouldn't be taken lightweight. It should be give and take, respect, take respect and give respect. That's the main agenda should be. So in that way, if the community is there, there won't be miscommunication or misunderstanding or taken it lightly or leave away things. So in that way, I think definitely we need a proper community, and to be aware of what is your role, and not to do extra work or not to do less work, or to understand what exactly the work of your, the whole process of it. So yeah, community is needed for us.
Can you also share your experience working on A Suitable Boy and Miss Marvel, just comparing it to your experience working in India and versus, these international productions?
Yeah, in international production, there's a separate department called health and safety, which we don't have in our industry, not even in the Bollywood or any part of an India. So this health and safety, what majorly their work is, so they used to take each and every crew member, saying that what their role and how they have to be, like how important of their role in that filmmaking becomes. For example, if I talk to, like, if I I'll tell you example of our department, if you can understand, like, to the point. So for example, we do the dummy weapons, so for the actors to hold or for the things to do, so it shouldn't be sharp enough so that it hurts the actors. So those kind of a small minute detail, how we have to take care. And the kids are there in the set, so we have to be mindful about the wires, the live wires. If you see in our sets, it's always two cable which comes out, and it will be in the low board, nothing with the pin or nothing with the thing. So those kind of a health and safety, even for the art department or light department for that matter, they climb, or they walk on the small ramp on the top or a catwalk. They don't take safety harness or anything for that matter. So those kind of a things, like if you work in a very dusty environment, should be having a mask and all those things. So in Suitable Boy, Suitable Boy production, this department, the health and safety department, there were two technicians who were representing the department, HODs, and they made us to watch. They made the whole production stop and made us to watch 1.5 hours episode of how to do and what not to do in the production. That was really great. And in the Marvel, they had an exam. Like produced, like they showed one video. We were supposed to see the video, and then there will be question and answers. We have to answer. If you cross 85 only, you can work on that, on the project, or else no. The majorly the video was about the health and safety first, and then women and sexual harassment and everything, which was really eye opening for us, which is not there in India at all. That is must needed for us, for more women to come in the industry, or for more family to agree for women to go and work in our industry, not only on the camera but behind the camera, in technical also. That helps a lot. Like it makes a community there, someone to take care of everything. It's not like parents are will be always scared of film में काम कर रहा है क्या काम कर रहा है, so that kind of an attitude types.
Can I just add something? It also, it also, while she was talking, it also made me think, another extension of where community comes up for us is in our subjects in the non-fiction category, because we are going and we are working with a community. So you're never really alone in that sense, and how you're working, the sensibilities of working with that particular environment, ecology, ambience, and yeah, so that is a very, very strong negotiation of working with community. And that's also a relationship, and that's also a collaboration in that sense, without which it doesn't work.
Chaitra, you are already, like, being a production designer, you're head of department. That's your niche right now? And is there, do you imagine a different role going ahead? Like in the future, do you imagine maybe evolving into a different role, or taking on more responsibility or different responsibility?
As of now, it's a production designing. It's a full plate work, like full work, like 24/7, no sleep kind of a work. But I feel like definitely in the future, I would be good producer for sure. So that is what I always think of. I wanted to be a producer for a film.
We need more women producers. Yes, yes.
I also miss a lot of women producer in this part of industry. There are more in the north, but not here.
Yeah, Sindhu, would you also be interested in producing? And why do you think we need more women producers? Like, what will the industry look like? What will the films look like if we had more women producers?
I think there would be more stories that wouldn't be assessed for like commercial viability, male gaze, and those kind of things. Like right now when you go to producers, they'll be like, I feel like they don't have that understanding of like when it's either women centric or it's something else. Like it's a regular film or it's women centric. I don't understand like why a woman centric film can't just be a regular film. So that demarcation is there, and they're like, oh, we don't produce such kind of films. And I'm like, okay, like, the films that are around female narratives doesn't necessarily have to be non-commercial, or they don't necessarily have to be only artistic. They can be both, and they can just be content in general, good content in general. So I think that understanding will come with hopefully more producers in general, younger, newer producers, and also maybe women who are producing. Yeah, I think the stories that can be made will be far more richer.
Are you interested in producing?
Hopefully, someday. I feel like there's a lot going on already. And production is something that is no joke. Oh my God, like it's nerve-wracking. I try to produce my sample, like I said, the 2 days. And like Shilpika was saying, I was doing everything. I was line producer, I was director, I was writer, I was actor. I was also hospitality. I was doing everything. I just got actors to come and lightmen and like the cameramen to come. And I was doing everything else. And it was so exhausting. So I completely empathize with her when she says she was like a one-woman army. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. And I think that should be actually proof enough that women can work in these industries, and they're so talented and they can do so much. I don't understand why there are there have to be more women like who are technicians and etc. Because on our film as well, like in Achar, we had an equal ratio of men to women in the technical departments. Because at some point, like, it was me, I was directing it, my producer Ashwini Puneet Rajkumar ma'am was again a producer, Bindu Malini was my music director, then we had a sound engineer who was a woman, and then our stylist was a woman, like, and then to exactly equal to that, we had an production designer who was male, cinematographer male. So it became like an equal ratio, and we were so happy with that because it just so happened that we created this very equal environment, and that felt really good because I was on sets before as an actor where I was the only female on a set of 60 to 70 men sometimes. Like no ADs who were female, or no, except for your co-actors once in a while, there were no women technicians at all. And I think it has partly to do with what Chaitra was saying. We need to have like the Vishaka rules and committees that also should be set up on sets, which we had in the previous film and are going to have in the next film as well, so that women can feel safe. They know who to approach and how, and also for people to be briefed in general of etiquette and behavior on set. And just because this is a creative field doesn't mean that there's no structure or there is no hierarchy or there is no rules. There are rules, just basic human decency at least, right? So I think it's important to create safe environments for women so that they can come forward and be like take up like even technical roles, not just on screen, right? Because that's the only thing people are aware of and they're exposed to is, okay, an actor, but there's so many more roles like production designing, sound, editing. There's so many wonderful departments, and it's very fulfilling work that I think people can access if they feel like they have an environment that's safe enough to work in.
Let's hope that we are alive when that day comes and there's gender equality in the workplace in films. We have to wrap up and we'll have some time for Q&A. Just before that, very quickly, if any of you want to share any organizations or grants that have offered support or you have worked with in the past that young people can kind of, people who are emerging filmmakers or just starting out can look up and find more information on. If there's any names you want to take of grants or organization.
I mean, I don't know grants, but one of the things that I did, because Mr. Satyanshu Singh was our, teacher at for screenwriting, he asked us to like kind of copyright all our work first. Whenever we write something, copyright it. Like go to SWA, which is a Screenwriters Association. They have a website. You can become a member and you can register your work. Even if nothing, it's just for you to know that this material is protected and that you'll be safeguarded in terms of any disputes, etc. So safeguarding your work is extremely important because there's a lot of ideas that float around, and at some point everybody forgets where that idea originated from. So it's good to sort of have that sort of structure to like copywriting your work. So that is that. And because of that, I got exposed to the fact that they have a lot of workshops. They have so many workshops for writers almost every month. And they also have industry professionals coming in and taking master classes. It's extremely helpful.
And a lot of this is online, so people around the country can
Exactly.
access.
You can do it in Bombay if you're present. Otherwise, it'll be live streamed, so you can access the online seminars as well. And they also have something called the lab, the script lab, which I applied to as well myself. And that lab, again, it opens for both web series. It's mostly fictional work. So it's for both web series and for feature films. Every year it alternates, like whether it's for a feature film or a web series. And you get exposed to this because once, like, my script was among the 6 that was selected and that won the lab. So we got suddenly exposed to directors like Vikramaditya and like Shakun and etc., all of them. And we had one-on-one sessions with each of them. They read our work. They were giving us feedback. So now that opened doors to like so many more places. So these labs really do help because the jury on that, if they're impressed by like your work, they do tend to like meet you again. And then of course, because of the script lab itself, they had a pitch fest. So where we got to meet 25 producers, the top 25 producers in the country to pitch our films to. That's where I found the producers to my next film.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, we'll take questions. Anyone? Yes. Do we have a mic?
Yeah, very good evening. My question is to Sindhu. Congrats for last year you were selected for BAFTA Breakthrough Talents. Can you throw light on that one? What is that one and everything for everybody? Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah. Again, this is something that I had no clue if I would even get to be a part of. But BAFTA has this breakthrough talent that goes around almost every year from across the world. Every country there are participants chosen for their breakthrough project. So I had applied with Achar & Co because it was something that I had written, directed, and acted in, and I thought that was the right project to enter the program with. And I think it was the only Kannada project that went through as well. So I'm among the 9 of them selected from India. So what that program does now is it helps us network, which I'm so terrible at. They put us in touch with like people we want to speak to, producers, actors, writers, anybody you want to collaborate with from around the world. They help us connect with them and try to see if we can learn something from them, if there's something that we can get educated about in general, about their process, and learn from their expertise in general. So that's what's happening right now. In fact, we had like a roundtable a month ago with Siddharth Roy Kapoor, and recently it was with Guneet Monga. So they keep trying to connect us with industry professionals so that we can grow. So their main aim is to take people who are fresh off their projects, like maybe 1-2 films old, who've, even Varun Grover is on the list. For example, he made All India Rank, which was his debut film. Even though he's been a writer for many years, that was his breakthrough project for this program. So we just get connected to industry professionals. So I really enjoy that, there are labs and there are programs that can really accelerate your journey a bit more. I mean, sometimes it works, it may not work, but it's worth trying.
Now, only one small clarification. Sindhu said she sold the concept and it has taken a year's time to execute. When that sold concept has to be defined, just for my understanding.
Yeah, so I had written the story. The screenplay was ready. I won the lab. And I went to the pitch fest, like I said. And we had about 10 minutes with each producer. So it was like this entire hall filled with 25 cubicles. We had to go to each cubicle. We had 10 minutes to pitch our story. And we were doing the rounds that day, and one of the producers, after he heard the narration, he just said, "I want to buy this film." So so when he bought it, he bought the copyright and he bought the material itself. So now the producers own the copyright. So we intended to, of course, go on floors in let's say the next 6 months and everything. But you know how films are. I mean, it always takes a lot of planning and a lot of hurdles come along the way. Investors sometimes are ready, sometimes they pull out, sometimes it's the weather, sometimes it's so many things need to fall into a place for a film to come together. So it was mostly that. But yes, when I do say that, okay, you have sold something, it's usually you have sold the copyright to that material and you've sold the material itself to the producer. Yeah.
Though you people are saying we should not productify, objectify and all that, for me, Achar & Co. was more of a South Bangalore product. It's marketing South Bangalore culture. Why I say this is, if you don't know your basic roots from where you're telling the stories, it will become like one of those Raj films. And who's this Raj? Raj can be anybody. Babu can be anybody. It is a two-way sword. You need the ground. At the same time, it cannot be confined to one level. So the product is happening, but it is open. It can be interpreted and understood by everybody, is what I want to say. The very fact of question is to tell people the reality is little harder, but you can still try. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I think what you said is 100% true. Your story needs to be grounded in some place for its characters to be more specific, alive, and feel relatable than becoming generic. Then they don't have any root. Then you're like, okay, this makes it doesn't relate to anybody then. At least you relate it to somebody and then let people resonate with it as they go. So yeah, I think the more rooted the story and the characters are, I feel they'll resonate better. Yeah, thank you so much.